Hey, everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and over there is the Spock to my Captain Kirk.
Live long and prosper. I'm Chris.
And that was a lot better than the last take. Anyways,
Awesome.
we are Amazing Fantasy Football. We are here to bring you some matchup advice and everything. It is the start of playoffs in a lot of leagues, at least in the 12-team and bigger leagues.
Yep.
In some smaller leagues, maybe your playoffs don't start till next week. But I mean, it's definitely do or die time this week if that's the case.
Same difference.
I mean, I think in the two 10-team leagues that we're in together, the playoffs are actually starting this week, which I'm fine with. We've gone over that before.
Meaning we're not playing in week 18, just to get that out of the way.
Or 17.
We're not playing in 17 either?
Nope.
What?
Yep.
That doesn't sound right. Anyway, I'll look into that.
That's 100% correct.
Oh, wow. That's dumb. Who said that? Me?
And me.
Anyway.
Anyways, it's the first year of the 17-game season. It's fine. We've gone over this before. Whatever.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
Mistakes will happen. Wrong choices will happen. It's fine. But I'd prefer to play up until the final week.
You would prefer to play up through the penultimate week of the season, of the regular season.
Penultimate. What a great
Yes, I love that word.
Vocabulary. Yeah, it's a good word. It's a good word.
I love it. Sounds so grandiose. Anyways, like I said, we are Amazing Fantasy Football. Chris is doing good. Josh is how are you doing, Josh?
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right, Chris. I'm a little tired. I'm adjusting to a new work schedule, so it's
right.
Oh, that on top of the fact that I found out this week, I kind of knew this already, but it doesn't really matter when I go to bed. I just get 5 hours of sleep, and that's about it. It's like it's impossible for me to sleep more than 5 hours. Go out drinking, get a little inebriated, 5 hours of sleep. Go to bed at 9, wake up 5 hours later. That's 2 in the morning for those keeping track. And I am up until I go to work. Ugh. So yeah, 5 hours of sleep. Anyways, we got some matchups. We've got some big news. Big news. Ground shattering, world-ending.
Shake the
news.
Bowels of the earth. The bowels of the earth. Did I say that right? I think I did.
Is the earth pooping?
It could. As far as the climate goes, yes.
Chris, if volcano erupts, is that the earth pooping?
So what was the first part of the statement? If what?
If a volcano erupts, is that the earth pooping? I think it is.
I think it's a different bodily function, but I'd rather not get into that with you.
I think it's pooping. Anyways, I
so have kids because you know what phrase that reminds me of? There's this dumb cartoon like on YouTube, etc., and it's like the floor is lava, and that's all I think about when you made that statement. So I was like, that's funny.
Let's see.
We can cut.
Anyways, cool. let's move on with the show before we get into what other bodily functions the Earth might be performing. Is rain sneezing? Is it sneezing, or is the rain, or is the Earth crying when it rains?
It's crying. It's definitely.
I said we were going to do this. Anyways, Chris, do you want to start the matchup, or you want me to?
I want to carry on the not tradition, but the rhythm of starting. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Start with the Patriots at Colts. The Patriots are going to be pretty quick.
Wait! Before you get so we have a Thursday night game that's literally going on as we speak right now. The Chiefs and the Chargers. As we're recording this, Chiefs Chargers. Why we decided to record during Thursday Night Football? We're idiots. Don't question us. Idiots. What I was interrupting Chris for is that there's 2 Saturday night games this week, and there's also 2 Saturday night games next week as well. So make sure that you take those players out of your flex position.
Yep.
Saturday night games or Saturday. Well, I think the Raiders and Browns game is in the afternoon, and the Colts and Patriots is at night. I don't remember which. One's in the late afternoon. No one's at night. Anyways, Saturday night games. Go.
All right, I will go now. Hopefully the mic didn't pick up what just happened. We're great to go. On to the Patriots and Colts.
Wait.
He's just messing with me now, folks.
I know I am.
The Patriots be kind of quick. I'll be up front. I did not include quarterback, receiver, or tight end for the Patriots. We'll just get straight to the running backs. Damian Harris is nursing a hamstring injury that occurred in the first half of the Pats' Week 13 game. They were on a bye last week, as a reminder to you listening at home. Harris and Brandon Bolden, with a knee issue, both logged a limited session Wednesday. Barring a setback, he should play. Now, Indy is good versus running backs. They're giving up the 7th fewest fantasy points allowed to the position. But I honestly think Stevenson is the higher-ranked player if Harris sits. With Stevenson eating into Harris's work a bit, I like Harris as a flex this week. It's fine, like 3 stars for Harris. But Stevenson is more of a desperate PPR play if Harris plays. I'm going to give him 2 stars. But if Harris sits, I like Stevenson to have a great day, 4 stars. That's it for the Patriots.
Wait,
on to the Colts. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait. I just wanted to clarify. Harris gets what if he plays?
3 stars. Like a top 36,
but
like a flex.
Stevenson gets 4 stars if...
Yeah.
Against the Colts? Is our Colts good run defense?
Yeah, I don't know.
And you're going to completely dismiss Hunter Henry?
Oh, has he been
Colts
good?
He's been okay, and the Colts are giving up the 6th most points to tight ends.
If you're a playoff team and you're playing Hunter Henry, I'd be a little worried. But I
don't know, man.
I like the depth.
How many times have we gone over how bad tight ends are this year?
Exactly. I was just going to say, number 1, I like the depth of analysis. Number 2, we're talking about tight ends here. So, no, absolutely. Throw Hunter Henry out there. My apologies. I really hammered home on the running backs here. Didn't really give things a second thought.
And Mac Jones, you're not starting Mac Jones. I mean,
exactly,
he would be an okay streamer in a really big league, but other than that, no.
I like him in real life. I do. I think they've got something there. But anyway, so that's the Patriots. Again, just to refresh your memory, Harris is straight up 3 stars if he plays. Stevenson gets 2 stars if Harris plays. If Harris is out, I'm giving Stevenson an entire star more with 4 stars.
That math doesn't add up, but okay.
I think he's got something. And I've got him in. I've got both of them in multiple leagues, so I.
So he's the best player in the world.
Yeah, well, I don't have Stevenson in Dynasty, so it's like, what does it really matter? I didn't make the playoffs anyway. Hey, onward and upward to the Colts. Carson Wentz has averaged only 12.17 fantasy points the last 4 weeks, and 2 of those games were versus bad teams and division opponents in the Jags and Texans. To make matters worse, the Patriots are among the best pass defenses, giving up the 2nd fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position and the 3rd fewest passing yards in the league. I am benching Carson Wentz. On to the star. Jonathan Taylor was red hot before the bye week and leads the NFL in total touchdowns with 18, just ahead of James Conner and Austin Eckler, who's playing right now.
Damn, really?
Yeah. I honestly, I like Eckler's balance better, though. He's got now I'm going to get it flip-flopped. 9 rushing touchdowns, 7 receiving, or vice versa. I really can't remember. I think it's probably 9 and 7. Just great players, man. Very good players. Anyway, we're talking about Jonathan Taylor here. He is in your lineup regardless. You don't need me to tell you that. The Patriots are about middle of the road in yards and fantasy points surrendered to the running back position. Coming off a late bye week, I like Taylor to carry teams through the fantasy playoffs. However, the Patriots are known for stopping the opposition's best option and forcing other offensive components to beat them. Still, 4.5 stars for the MVP candidate, Jonathan Taylor. Honestly, it's probably, I know maybe half a star off of a 5-star rating isn't.
No, I got you. No, I get it. I get it.
You got to play the guy, yeah. So on to the Pittman is the only passing option I'm going to talk about here. Yeah, exactly. He has looked pedestrian during Wentz's bad 4-game streak, and it will affect his rating in this one. Versus an elite pass defense, and given Wentz's struggle lately, I'd rather look elsewhere. I'm going to give 2 stars to Michael Pittman and leave the rest of the passing options alone.
What I was going to say is I think Carson Wentz has been bad for fantasy, but in real life, he's been okay.
Fair. Like a 2-touchdown.
Much better real-life quarterback than fantasy quarterback. Like your Mac Jones.
Well, he's got a great defense and an amazing running back, so... He was managing that Eagles team. Actually, he was playing at an MVP level that year. He was playing amazing with that Philly team.
The Colts just need better pass catching weapons to really help Carson Wentz.
Yep,
that's their main problem. So go out and get Allen Robinson, Indianapolis Colts. I love you forever.
I don't know if that's your guy, but okay.
Better than what they got.
That's fair. Only if you can get him cheap AF. But anyway, you are up next, sir.
Anyways, we're gonna go on to the other Saturday game now, which is the Las Vegas Raiders at the Cleveland Browns, or should I say the Las Vegas Raiders at the Cleveland COVID cases.
Cleveland. Yeah, I got nothing. Sorry.
Did you have anything?
Don't know where I was
didn't
going with
think
that.
so.
Yes.
Well, let's start with Derek Carr, who I'm pretty much. I mean, let's for time's sake just skip over Derek Carr. It wasn't a good game from last week. Excuse me. And are you going to really start Derek Carr against
12? Is he a top 12 guy for you? No.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So unless you're talking Superflex, let's move on.
Let's move on to Josh Jacobs, who haven't given 3 stars to. Josh Jacobs, like the rest of the Raiders offense last week, sans Hunter Renfro were pretty pitiful. Yeah. They really were.
Wow.
They just got schooled. They got down so quick, so early that they were just forced to throw the ball. Can he have a bounce back week this week against the Browns? Perhaps. I know I'm kind of riding the fence on this one, but Jacobs has been pretty touchdown dependent, actually. He has only 3 games with more than 50 rushing yards and only 1 game with more than 40 receiving yards. So 3 stars for Mr. Josh Jacobs. For a guy that I was kind of I was warm on, not hot, not in love, but kind of sort of.
You didn't want to spend a first rounder on him, but I think you'd have gone in the second, and
I liked Josh Jacobs more in the third in pre-draft,
okay.
But
I was off by about a round.
Fair. Yeah, he hasn't really been that good this year, and I'm not going to really look for him. I'm not going to really look for him anywhere before the 4th the next year. Hunter Renfro, Chris. So we were supposed to go after Hunter Renfro when Darren Waller got injured, not what's his face,
Foster Moreau, his
and I kind of stopped there with Hunter Renfro because he had a pretty good game last week. It was all in garbage time, but hey, I mean, garbage time started in like the second half of the first quarter,
like 9 points or something. Like I looked at Renfro,
and he had a good game and he had a good game 2 weeks ago too.
Yeah,
that would be Hunter Renfro. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Baker has COVID, I guess. The entire Browns offense has COVID, more or less. Not Nick Chubb. He's already had it. Tune back in on Sunday for the Sunday stream where we go through for last-minute injury.
Right here on YouTube.
I'm sorry, on YouTube. So tune in the Sunday stream on YouTube on the Amazing Fantasy Football channel where we have last-minute injury news, lineup questions, asking for a friend. That's kind of part of the lineup questions. Just general chit chat. We kind of BS about stuff and whatever, and just general jocularity that starts with fantasy football and ends with.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a looser show. Let's put it that way.
Yes, not a lot of structure to it. Anyways, so Kareem Hunt here. He is questionable with an ankle. He is, according to Adam Schefter from ESPN, Kareem Hunt is considered week to week. That's not good, man. That's not good. Monday morning, head coach Kevin Stefanski said that Hunt is unlikely to play Saturday. Remember, it's a Saturday game. Let's just call Kareem Hunt out. But we're going to cover Kareem Hunt here just real quick. Nick Chubb, the last 2 games, both weirdly against Baltimore. This is the only time it's ever happened. They weren't back-to-back weeks, but there was Baltimore, bye week, Baltimore for the Browns and Ravens. First time that's ever happened, Chris. Anyways,
I don't mind bad. I don't mind having
it was dumb.
In between.
I think it was more of a logistics thing for the NFL schedule than anything else. Anyways, they were bad. They were bad for Nick Chubb. His fantasy points, they're all over map this season. The Raiders giving up the 3rd most points to RBs this season, so 4.25 stars to Chubb. For a guy that I was like, maybe you should consider him as number 1 at your number 1 pick.
May I interject? Do you think he's healthy?
No, I think he's a little banged up.
Honestly, I don't remember his injury off the top of my head, meaning the injury that sidelined him for a while.
Actually, I think the entire Browns offense is really banged up, and that starts with their quarterback, that goes to their offensive line.
Well, and then there's COVID.
That goes to the running backs. That goes to their wide receivers. I mean, COVID aside, I think the entire team is just pretty banged up and has the injury bug. So
like real NFL talk, real quick, in the playoffs, they're holding on by a thread probably. But go ahead.
Yeah. Let's move on to Harrison Bryant. As of writing this, David Njoku and Austin Hooper are on the COVID list. If this were to continue, I like Bryant much like I liked Austin Hooper last week. I actually started Hooper in like 2 or 3 leagues and was very pleasantly surprised by his touchdown and extra yardage on top of that touchdown. So as long as two out of the three Cleveland tight ends are out and one is healthy, start that one. Whether it's David Njoku, Harrison Bryant, Austin Hooper, that's the rule. Last week Hooper scored a touchdown, became very tight end usable. Blah blah blah. We kind of covered that. And the Raiders are allowing the second most points to tight ends. So tune in to Sunday to check on that. Chris, that's pretty much that matchup. There wasn't a lot to talk about there.
On to the Panthers at Bills. I'm going to cut to the chase again with this side of the matchup.
Why are you cutting Chase?
No, don't cut Jamar Chase. That would be dumb. I'm going to cut straight to the chase with the only players you should be looking at here. In some ways, you shouldn't. This team is in bad shape, no doubt. Honestly, Hubbard and DJ Moore are the only names worth discussing, but this is the Bills' defense. So, honestly, I'm looking elsewhere if possible. I mean, DJ Moore's targets have been great, and he's scored double-digit fantasy points in Week 11 and 12, which goes back a couple weeks. I think there was a bye in there also. Hubbard has been more disappointing. He got mere 10 carries in his first game since CMC returning to the IR list last week versus Atlanta. So he's an RB with a pulse, and DJ Moore is still getting tons of targets. So I'm going to give...
but doesn't have a pulse.
Yeah, right. I'm going to give 2 stars to each, actually. So just, kind of a desperation thing there, really.
Keep going, and I'll reserve my comments for the end.
On to the Bills. Josh Allen, the quarterback one on the season, is coming off a great game versus the Buccaneers, where he rushed for over 100 yards, threw for over 300 yards, and scored 3 times. He is considered day-to-day. Yeah, exactly. He is considered day-to-day with an ankle injury, but he is trending in the right direction. And while the Panthers have been bad on offense, very, very bad, they have been pretty good on defense, in particular versus the pass. They're going to get the 4th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks and just barely beating the Bills for the least amount of passing yards given up. Now, I don't think they've faced a quarterback of Allen's caliber, except for arguably Dak in Week 4, where they gave up 4 touchdowns and 27 fantasy points to the Dallas quarterback.
Dak was good.
They also gave up 28 points to Cousins, I think, a couple weeks later. So they can be beat by a good quarterback, and Allen is arguably the best quarterback right now. So he's going to get 4.5 stars this week. I have nothing on Singletary Moss. My apologies. Singletary got close to double digits fantasy last week. Yeah, exactly. It's just with quarterback running for 100 yards, not every week. I'm just saying. I don't necessarily like either of them. If you're talking maybe below a flex, like you're in a 4, you've got an extra flex in a deep league, sure. Maybe roll out Singletary with some catches, but that's why I don't have anything on him. So bench them both. On to Stefan Diggs. Stefan Diggs' floor reared its ugly head again, and his touchdown streak has come to an end. He hasn't scored in 2 weeks and is averaging only 6.25 fantasy points over those last 2 weeks. With Carolina giving up the 2nd fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, I'm hoping you have better options here. But name recognition, and hey, there's people out there that even in the playoffs are desperate enough to have to put him in their flex. 2.5 stars for Diggs. On to Knox. A little more positivity here. Knox is the leader among tight ends with 8 touchdowns and has scored 3 times in the last 3 weeks. Touchdowns are hard to predict, though. But get this. He's gone from about 4 targets per game to about 7 in the last 4 games. He is the tight end 5 despite missing time with injuries, and he is in your lineup every single week as probably a top 5 tight end. I'm going to give him 4.75 stars. And that is your Panthers at Bills. My apologies. I almost said Patriots.
Quickly, DJ Moore, do you like him better when I tell you that Tre'Davious White is not playing for the Bills defense?
I do. I also heard some little bit of scuttlebutt about Matt Rule saying Darnold might have something to add at the end of the season, like he's going to come back from injury. And hey, he was awful. Don't get me wrong. I'm only bringing it up because we're digging a little bit deeper on the Panthers' offense, and obviously
because we're touching a Panther. Oh no!
Don't. I don't recommend that at home, folks. No. So to go back to DJ Moore, I'm sorry, I benched them both, didn't I? No, 2 stars for each. Yeah, I
Yeah,
could
that's
definitely
pretty. That's gee.
I could definitely be convinced to give him another half a star,
I
maybe a
like it.
little more, and it really kind of
Yeah.
gets him in that cusp of a top 36 discussion there without
What?
Tre'Davious
Okay.
White. Yeah.
I know we're trying to go quick here, but like, what do you think about the Panthers taking one more look at Sam Darnold? Their season's more or less lost. They have 5 wins. I just looked it up.
Oh, in real
Um,
life, I think it makes 100% sense. Yeah, and I hope
yeah.
nobody's relying on.
Obviously, Cam Newton is a fill-in. I mean, he's a stopgap at best at this point. Like
He's
he's
almost
not
like
good.
if he wasn't literally starting and playing for them right now, it would almost be like that ceremonial contract that you signed, like did
The
Jason
one
Witten do it?
day,
Yeah,
like signed with the
exactly.
team
To
that
retire
drafted
as
you
a
so that you could
Laker
retire as
or
a
retire as
Panther.
a Cowboy or a Panther. Exactly. Yeah. So, and hey, he deserves. Cam Newton's going to be in the Carolina Panther Hall of Fame, but he is not going to sniff.
Is he though?
Yes, dude. He probably holds all their passing records, despite him not being that great at
Does he
passing.
though?
Jake Delhomme. Jake Delhomme.
Yes, that's the name. I'm like Jake something. What's his last name?
So I rest my case.
Yes.
They were good that year. And I think that had about
That's a
80.
Super Bowl.
I think that had about 90% to do with Steve Smith. So and the defense.
And the running backs.
Steven Davis at the time. No, that's
Yeah, I
too
believe
old.
so. I believe you're
I
right.
think it was Steven Davis. I think he was still around. I remember Steven Davis playing with
I think he was on the cover of Madden too.
the current Washington football team and the team formerly known as, I'm not going to say it.
The Carolina
Yeah.
Panthers.
Steven Davis. I think I'm thinking of the same Steven Davis. Yeah, I am. Yeah, he
Anyways,
played. Anyway.
let's move along to the Tennessee Titans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hey, Chris, remember when I was like, I don't have a lot to talk about some teams? Strap yourself in, because we're going to talk about Devonta Freeman. And through the past 4 weeks, the Steelers D has been eviscerated by Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon,
nice.
and
Okay.
Dalvin Cook. I am by no means saying that Foreman is anywhere close to those guys, but it is to illustrate how bad the Steelers' run defense has been as of late. On the season, the Steelers' run D is giving up the 7th most points to running backs. Alec Foreman in this game, 3 3/4 stars. Moving along to the Pittsburgh Steelers, see what I did there? Najee Harris, over the previous 4 weeks, Harris has scored anywhere between 5.2 and 23.9 points, and just about everything in between. Surprisingly, the Titans are giving up only 14.8 points per game to running backs. So that's the second best, or the second fewest, however you want to look at that. The Steelers' offensive line, shoddy offensive line, is doing absolutely nothing to help out actually a very talented Najee Harris here. And so I'm only going to give him 3 1/4 stars, and I think that's pretty generous as it is. Deontay Johnson, I'm going to give him 4 stars over the past 4 weeks. Also, the Titans have given up 72.25 yards per game to the top wide receiver on each team. So that would be I just did that by the wide receiver that scored the most for each of their last 4 opponents. And those guys were a bunch of scrubs. Even with old Ben not at his peak. I wrote week there, but I meant peak. Deontay could easily have a good week this week, so I'm giving 4 stars. On Chase Claypool, this is a hunch call, so just bear with me, Chris. Okay. And then perhaps it's very steeped in recency bias, and Claypool is 13.5 points last week. But or perhaps it's the fact that the Titans are giving up the 2nd most points per game to wide receivers. But I think you could do worse at wide receiver this week. I think I'd rather slide Claypool in as a flex than or I would consider him if I were to start him as my flex and not my wide receiver 2, that sort of thing.
Oh, sure.
But I'm always one to hedge my bets, so I'm going to give him 3.5 stars. And Chris, I like to. This is me personally. When I look at my starting lineup, I'm like, you're my wide receiver 1, you're my wide receiver 2, and you're my wide receiver 3, or like. R3 or whatever. And I had to do that as I was lining them up on the field and everything, because I'm weird. And like I said, man, do you have any reason that we should think about any other Tennessee Titans than Devonta Freeman?
No pass catching options. AJ Brown's still on IR. The Titans are awful.
Not their quarterback,
No,
not
not
their. They
Tannehill.
don't have a tight end at all.
Mm-hmm. And really, it's
pretty bad, man.
Devonta Foreman because of scoring opportunity, goal line back, big back. Like he's going to get the touches. It's volume and it's hopefully a scoring opportunity, like maybe one or two scoring opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, like that's where we're at.
Told you, quick matchups. I trimmed off the fat of a lot of matchups because it's playoff time, man, or darn close to it. So
I couldn't have said it better myself, sir. On to the Texans at Jags. I'm going to skip over everybody else but Brandon Cooks. This is a fine matchup for Cooks, and he did set his high yardage total for the season versus this very same Texans. I'm sorry, versus the Jags.
Was it an inter squad scrimmage that they played last week, Chris?
Right, and they counted it for week 1. I assume it was versus the Jags and not the Texans when Cooks set his high yardage total for the season. I like him as a low end wide receiver 2 this week, 3.25 stars. On to the Jaguars. Only one player to talk about. Urban Meyer doesn't even finish his first season with the Jaguars. Interim head coach Bevel has already endorsed James Robinson. He said, quote, James Robinson is our starting running back, and he will be played as such, end quote. And I expect a big day from the do-it-all back, with the Texans giving up the most rushing yards in the league and the 5th most fantasy points at running back. 5 stars for James Robinson in the first round of the playoffs for a lot of folks.
Yowzers.
Yeah, and that's your Texans at Jags, Josh.
Wow, that was a real quick one. Chris,
it was.
Do you have any guys that you kind of want to like slide it? We kind of talked about this before we started recording. Do you have any guys that you kind of want to see go to the head coach, go to the Jags?
Sure. Yeah. I loved your reference of Eric Bieniemy because number one, just the play calling aspect, he's among the league's best, if not, arguably the best. So I think just from a play calling perspective, and then secondarily, he's been doing his time as number 1, a player, number 2, an assistant, and then a coordinator. He's actually been sought after the past 2 seasons, I believe, as a potential head coach, and has held off because I think he wants to hold out for the right job. And when we first discussed this off air, I said, why would he want to go to Jaguars? And I said, you know what? Let me rewind a little bit. Number 1, their defense is not that bad. Number 2, James Robinson, who I just gave 5 stars this week. I think he's still, I think he's a good back. I think, I think he can do a lot for the team. And then lastly, Lawrence, we've seen many a quarterback leave a bad coach or play caller, get a good coach or play caller, and off to the races he goes. There's nothing to say Lawrence can't be a top 12 fantasy quarterback with a decent play caller, and I think Bieniemy is a great example of that.
Another guy that might be in consideration is I don't know if I get down with this, but Byron Leftwich, the Bruce.
Yeah,
that's
Arians, the name for obvious reasons.
Fairly long term at this point. Like assistant / offensive, has been his offensive coordinator for at least 5-6 years.
Who Arians? Yeah.
Leftwich has been for Arians. Yeah.
Was he?
He's been like Arians has really took Leftwich underneath his wing and like kind of just shown him the ropes and everything, and really kind of taught him stuff.
Arians
and Leftwich Leftwich was a Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback back in the day too.
Well, yeah, obviously that's what I was saying. Yeah, of course, that's the automatic correlation. Plus, Arians was in Pittsburgh.
I just thought of it.
Leftwich also went to Pittsburgh for a whole minute, if I recall. This is several years ago, but Arians might have been in Pittsburgh at the time, which of course,
I think he was
exactly relationship, and I think they were in dire straits at quarterback. Maybe anyway. Let me just. I don't remember that. To be clear, point is they've developed a relationship. Point is he's play calling one of the best offensives in the league. And if a guy like Arians gives you his endorsement, he is right up there with Bieniemy as a head coaching candidate for a lot of teams, much less the Jags.
Yeah.
I like it. I like both those names a ton. I forgot about Leftwich, despite the obvious connection with Jaguar quarterback. I remember watching him play for Jaguars. He wasn't that bad.
He was decent. He was I wouldn't call him a dual threat quarterback, but he could certainly run.
Yeah, he has an epic kind of game of his career where you remember the offensive line picking him up and carrying him forward to the next play. Like he was so hobbled and injured. Probably to the point in today's NFL would have been like we should probably
You need to
get
get
this
this
guy
guy
out
off
of
the
there. Exactly. This is how long this guy's been around. Of course, he's coaching now. Anyway, we can move on now. I thought that was great. Great thing.
Let's move
bring up
along
there.
to Chris's
Yep.
favorite team, the New York Giants, which are at home against his least favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. Chris, I don't like this, man. I really don't.
Oh, yeah, I do have.
And I don't want to say this. You're gonna hate me. You're gonna mute me. You're gonna stop the show. But 3.5 stars for Dak.
Right.
3.5 stars.
Is that in your opinion?
The only
put him in the top 12 or just out of it?
The only good game Dak has had in the last month has actually been more of a good fantasy game than a good real life football game. He's topped 13 points once in the aforementioned month. Once, and that was against the Raiders, and I believe that was he racked up the majority of those 35 points in the fourth quarter when it was complete and utter garbage time. Other than actually, it wasn't garbage time because they came back and won that game, if memory serves.
I was going to say, was that the comeback? I feel like a bad fan. I kind of been put on the spot and I don't remember. But
it was so long ago. Anyways, other than that, man,
we lost to the Raiders.
Been
I
good.
think they did.
He really, he's more real life quarterback good than fantasy good.
Well,
he's played against some bad passing defenses too. That would be Kansas City and Washington. I hope this is a reverse jinx rating, but I'm not too sure it is. So, excuse me. 3.5 stars for Mr. Dak Prescott. On to Zeke. 2.5 stars. I think we've all heard that Zeke dealing with a knee injury. You really have to wonder if that's the problem, or if that's and maybe that's the reason why, like, Corey Clement of all people actually got more rushes last week than Zeke. 15 to 13. Yeah, dude. I'm sorry, 13 to 12 because Tony Pollard didn't play because he has a toe injury, foot.
Pardon me.
I don't remember which.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't get to the mute button. Oh my goodness, my apologies. Yeah, Pollard is plantar fasciitis, or he injured his fascia.
Oh yes, the plantar fascia board. Yes.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. If you got more on our running backs for Dallas, go quite right
not
ahead.
much. I mean, even though the Giants are a bottom 10 rushing defense, I'm still going 2.5 stars for Zeke. I got no confidence, man. I haven't.
So he's your only rating, right? He's your only rating for the running backs. Like, Pollard might play. I think it sounds kind of crazy.
Tune back in for Sunday with that one. If Pollard can play,
exactly.
and he looks like he's maybe like he is close to 100%, then yeah, he's going to get more than Zeke. But I haven't liked what I've seen from Zeke, and it's granted I haven't watched every game, but from what I have seen, which is more than I've seen of the Colts, stupid network TV.
My last interjection will be that just from a Dallas perspective.
Wait. I got more. You can say more at the end.
Okay, cool.
Amari Cooper, 4 stars. I'm still on Team CD overall, but the fact that CD was in on only 67% of the team snaps last week, a little worrisome. Amari and Gallup both saw over 80% of the team snaps, while CD, like I said, CD was in on 67. I'm giving CD 3.5, and I'm giving Gallup 3.25.
Okay.
I think it's extremely interesting that Michael Gallup is the wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, who is playing over 90% of his snaps lined out wide, where the other two are in the 60s as far as where they're lining up. Very interesting. Real quick before we move on to the Giants, you know what? I'm going to do the Giants real quick, and then I'll circle back around to you. All right. Saquon has almost 100 scrimmage yards per game in his career against the Cowboys, but only 1 touchdown in those 5 games that he's played against the Cowboys. If we're a different year with maybe a different Giants team, I could get down with Saquon, but it's really hard to do so with the supporting cast he has around him. Daniel Jones might not play again, therefore it's turkey neck Mike Lennon. Saquon had a good game last week. I don't think you should be chasing them points. The fact that the Chargers are a poor rushing defense and the Cowboys rushing defense is the 3rd best this year just makes me kind of solidify my opinion on Saquon. Once again, trying to avoid Saquon this week. And especially if you're in the playoffs, like if you're in the playoffs, do you really want to lean on Saquon Barkley? And like, I love Saquon, don't get me wrong. Like,
but as the adage goes, if you got to the playoffs, did you get to the playoffs with Saquon? I think
that's an excellent question right there.
You probably have a pretty dang good roster. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're damaged by a lot of like Nick
That's
Chubb or
fair.
like a lot
For
of like a
sure.
lot of guys
Yep.
with
Yep.
COVID or injury this week. But
It's crazy,
man,
man.
I don't
It's
know.
nuts.
Let's circle back around to the Cowboys here real quick, Chris. Like,
The only
let's
couple
start with like
Mhm.
just real quick on the running backs. What were you gonna say
the only couple things I
about
had to
Zeke and
say
Pollard?
The other thing, a couple of things I had to say. Well, number one was in relation to kind of the running backs, but also the defense. In that the way they're winning games. And remember, they were bad for about a whole month. They were like lost 3 out of 4. November, I think it was. Anyway,
Dak was mildly injured in that too.
they're still destined. I hate to use that term because that sounds too jinxy and hyperbolic, but they're going to make the playoffs because they're in a really bad division. They're also not a bad team. Having said that, the quarterback has played bad. But the way they're winning games isn't, despite having what appears to be a pretty darn good defense right now, the running game is not clicking. The offensive line is not clicking. And I think that hurts all players involved. Last thing I was going to say in terms of Gallup and the pass catchers was Gallup is a vastly underrated outside threat. Like, people forget how
I think he is
adept he is at going up and getting it, man. Like, he's not the speedster. He's got fine speed. Don't get me wrong. He got fine speed. But what he can do with that ball in the air is among, people might be surprised, like probably top 12 or 20 receivers. Like, he's actually really good. And he's probably going to get to walk and get some money elsewhere as a 2. But he's going to be a dang good 2. And I think that's why we're seeing CD take a little bit of a back seat. I don't think there's any health involved there with CD. But
I was wondering if there's a little bit of health. But
okay, that I brought that up for a reason. I was kind of touching on that because I don't know. I haven't had a chance to read a ton, but
okay. Let's move on to your next matchup, man. I wanted to circle back around to the Cowboys desk over there and
yeah, right, for sure. Yeah,
down in Texas. I mean Illinois.
Right, that's weird. Yeah, I try not to take too long. Thank you very much. On to the Cardinals at Lions. Kyler looks healthy, and he is starting for your fantasy squad, but I am not giving him 5 stars, even though it's versus the lowly Lions, since he will be without Nuke Hopkins. More on that later. So I'm going to give 4.5 stars to Kyler versus the Detroit Lions. On to, I'll go straight to the pass catchers here. Nuke is out for the rest of the fantasy season and hopes to return in the real NFL postseason. Christian Kirk would be the only interesting option to look at here versus this Lions defense. Actually, he's a fine flex option. I'm going to give him 3 stars this week. Like, that's fine. That's nothing to sneeze at. Like, there might be teams out there that have to roll him out there.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm going to give Kirk 3 stars because of Nuke's absence.
Interesting. Okay.
Hopkins' absence. Yeah. I considered the other options, and and even Kirk hasn't been great lately. I get it, but I think he's the de facto. I think he's the guy that moves outside. I think he's the guy that has won with speed multiple times in the last handful of weeks. On to the running back, James Conner is second in the league with 16 total touchdowns and gets another week at least of dominating touches as Chase Edmonds has been ruled out for this week with an ankle injury and has yet to be activated off IR. The Lions are a smash mashup for running backs. 5 stars for James Conner. I predict they'll lean on Conner a little bit more with Hopkins being out for indefinitely.
I think it's still. I think it's still pretty interesting that even after they said Cliff Kingsbury's like, oh no, Chase Edmonds will be back for week 14, and then they never activated him. Still haven't activated him. I'm not sure if, and they still could. They easily could. I think they have until like Saturday to activate him.
You
Maybe
think they're
Sunday.
just, yeah, but he's not turning in this week. He's been ruled out for this week, I believe.
Edmonds, no, he hasn't.
Oh, he has not. Okay, my apologies.
But they still haven't activated him off the IR.
No, they have not. And
so it makes me very worrisome that Edmonds isn't going to play, and Conner has a little bit of a foot ankle injury. And Kingsbury's been like, well, maybe we've been leaning on Conner a little too much in Edmonds' absence. And I was like, yeah, but look at the results, man. Like, I don't blame you for running him. And Conner wants to play, man. Like, he's loving like his success that he's found with the Cardinals, it seems like, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're all waiting for the rug to be pulled out from under us with James Conner.
And I think it's about to happen too.
Yeah, maybe that's.
But until it does, ride it. Conner strong, man.
No, yeah, I gave him 5 stars this week. Yeah, absolutely. Roll him out there.
Man, I wish I was I wish I was actually playing in Dynasty this week. Oh, Chris,
Right.
you know why I'm not playing in Dynasty this week? Because I'm in
Sure.
first place and I have a bye week.
6 out of
Suck
12 teams.
it.
I get it. You know, I was going to say something off air earlier when you were like, I made first place in the 3 out of the 4 leagues that you made the playoffs. You were first place in all of those.
Mm.
I've been first place multiple times in this exact same Dynasty league, and it has done me zero bit of good. Like
I don't have any expectations of.
as long as I'm in the dance,
I'm just basking in the glory while it lasts. That's all
Right.
I'm doing.
Exactly. I have taken
and everything but our
multiple playoff
Superflex
losses,
league.
so-
Everything but Superflex, I am just basking in the glory until it just completely the light goes out and I lose because
And the
it's
year that
going to happen.
And the year that I made the championship game, I lost it, and I lost multiple championship games that same day. In like redraft leagues, that was like 2 or 3 years ago. I was devastated. Anyway, I didn't finish the Lions up. On to the running backs, Swift and Jamal Williams. Swift is trending out again with 2 missed practices this week, and Jamal Williams is going to miss the game also due to COVID protocol, or at least all signs point to him missing it. I am staying away
All
from the
signs
short
point to
running
a
backs.
bunch of scrubs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm staying away from. Yeah, it's funny doing the research. I was like, oh, and Hawkinson is out with IR with a thumb injury, like he's done for the season.
IR.
So, yeah, TJ Hawkinson is done for the year. So you're not playing any Detroit Lions. Is the moral of the story? That was that matchup. I know. I was like getting into do some Swift research, and I was like, but he's really trending to be out again, and Williams is trending to be out again too. So it's like nothing.
I think the Lions are just.
And this is versus arguably the best team in the league. So, you know, we might be talking about
you know what there's an old phrase on ships of batten down the hatches and try and weather the storm, and I think that's exactly what the Lions are doing this week.
Which means I don't want any of those fantasy assets.
Yeah, man. No, I think they're doing it for the season. I think they're just like, you know what? Let's just call it a wash and just start strategizing for next year.
Swift. Heck, maybe even Russ Williams.
Make sure he's 100% healthy for next year.
Williams signed a contract too, and again, off air, I discussed. I think Swift needs help. I think Swift is the type of player that will benefit both the Lions.
I don't
and
know
fantasy
if Williams
football with
is the guy. That's my only problem with that.
Well, they just signed him though.
I know. I just don't think that he's the right guy to sell Swift. I think Swift needs a more of a Bruce, an AJ Dillon type kind of guy, a Ramondre Stevenson.
Those are a little bit bigger guys, but Jamal Williams isn't a small dude either. So
no, he's not. Anyways, let's move along to the Washington football team at the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. Like the New York Giants, I'm kind of only just interested in the running back in this one, Chris. Antonio Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
He had a real dud game last week against the Cowboys.
Man.
And I'm not expecting the world from Antonio Gibson here. Let me rephrase that. I wasn't expecting the world from Antonio Gibson last week anyways. I don't remember who they played, but it was a good rushing defense.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he helped my one team really crap the bed. That would be in my work league, and making me lose to a team in my work league, like I just mentioned, who has started 2 injured players and had a defense that scored negative points. And I still lost and missed out on the playoffs. That was last week. I'm over it. Whatevs, man. Moving along to Gibson this week with the Eagles. I mean, if Gibson scored 10 more points, 10 more points, I'd have made it in, and it would have been a viable playoff team instead of this guy who's just limping in by not even checking his roster. Anyways, the Eagles are middle of the road this year versus running backs. I mean, just 10 more points, Chris. 10 more points is all I really needed from Gibson. Maybe 5 from Gibson, maybe another 5 from somewhere else, another 5 somewhere else. I mean, that's all. Anyways, if Tyson Hennigan can play, he has a knee injury, I'll give Gibson 3 3/4 stars. If it's Kyle Allen, I'm going to give him 3 1/4 stars. That would be Tatum Hansen or whatever his name is, the Washington football team quarterback. On to Ricky Seals-Jones. This Seal, you need a tight end dart throw? How about this one? I guess I don't have to put a lot of stock into tight end rankings. Most tight ends really blow. But What I do put stock in is that the Eagles are giving up the most points to tight ends. Therefore, I'm going to try and in one league where I lost TJ Hawkinson, apparently for the rest of the season, I am starting Ricky Seals-Jones this week. Yes. Let's move along to the Eagles side of the ball. As of Tuesday, Nick Sirianni was already saying Hurts would play this weekend. The football team is giving up the 8th most rushing attempts per game, 3rd most rushing yards per game, and 1st amongst fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. 4.25 stars for Jalen Hurts, assuming he plays. I know Minshew played well against the Jets last week, but maybe do you think that maybe he deserves another shot? Minshew, that is. I mean, the Eagles do the Eagles have a chance at the wild card right now? I think they do.
I mean, mathematically, I think so, yeah, but
once they're mathematically eliminated, I think they might throw Minshew back out there again.
Really? Yeah, okay.
I think so.
I don't hate it.
But man, he played pretty well. Played well.
He did. Hey, when you're trying to get a look at a guy, now's the time. Now's the time to get a look at a guy. You've gotten a darn good look at Hurts. I've seen good and I've seen bad, but yeah, maybe they need to get a look at what else they have.
Dallas Goddard. Should we chase the waterfall of points that Goddard laid out in week 13? Yeah, remember, Chris, when you're like, I think you should play Jared Cook this week because Goddard hasn't been terrible or hasn't been bad. And like, and they're like, oh, and Goddard has a week 14 bye, so you should probably drop him because, pick up Jared Cook. In my work league where I lost, not that Goddard would have helped me last week because he was on blind. Still, I say
that
why
call
not?
By me?
I say why not to Dallas Goddard? I mean, here's the thing. Are you going to trust Noah Fant this week? Sure. Are you going to trust Cole Kmet? Sure. Because they're all just whatever tight ends. Trust Jack Doyle?
Tight ends, yeah.
No, you're not going to trust Jack Doyle. But I say why not to Dallas Goddard? 3.5 stars. His waterfall of points too was with Gardner Minshew, but even then, I'm still like, meh. Dude, in a world of meh tight ends, why not try and hit the ceiling of the meh,
Yeah, fair.
Chris, I believe you have another matchup to do, and probably maybe like 3 left.
A couple, few, yep.
I want to hear about some Joey Bagels, dude. Maybe that's your next matchup. I don't know.
Bengals at Broncos. Joey Bagels. Joe Burrow for those listening at home. Joey Bagels has been getting done in real life NFL, but hasn't been the fantasy stud I hoped he would be just yet. And as we should all know at this point, Denver's defense is legit, giving it the 5th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks and the 10th best in passing yards. So giving up the 10th fewest. My apologies.
Least.
That puts Burrow out of the top 12 for me, honestly. Conversation for me. So I'm going to give him 3.5 stars. Like I said, outside the top 12. Yeah. Joe Mixon. While Mixon has had a couple of single-digit fantasy performances in a row here, his usage is still phenomenal. A threat to score every week, and last week was his first scoreless game since week 3. Denver is decent versus run and are top 10 in fantasy points given up to running backs and top 10 in rushing yards. But I'm going to give 4 stars to Mixon here because he will get the work and he's a great player. On to Jamar Chase and Tiggins. Tiggins is that's T. Higgins, folks. Again, just a reminder. Tiggins is questionable with an ankle injury, but played with the same injury last week and logged his third 100-yard receiving yard game in a row. There you go. He had been picking up some of Chase's slack the last few weeks till Chase went off last week with 2 touchdowns. Even though this is a tough matchup, you can't bench either one of these guys in most situations. I'm going to give 3.5 stars to both. I feel like that's a little bit of fence riding. One will probably
I don't think that's fence riding. I think that's very apt. I think it's right in the fence if you're not sure. I think I would be like, I was going to be like, dude, like
I feel like the likelihood is they will both score in that neighborhood. They will both be like
exactly
low in 2s, if you will.
Exactly. I don't think that's fence rating. I think that's just giving an equal rating to each player because that's what you think how they'll perform. That's not fence rating.
I feel like this is my third matchup of one side of the matchup being like one position. Let me continue. On to the Broncos. We're going to talk about Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon here.
Wait. You didn't?
Oh.
Nope, never mind. Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was like a tight end for the Bengals or something?
No. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Keep going.
Okay. On to the Broncos and the running back duo of Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Of course, Gordon comes back with a 2-touchdown, 23-point fantasy effort after missing a week. But still, Javonte has arrived, averaging 20.4 fantasy points over the last 3 weeks. Both players are nursing injuries and will miss practice time this week, but it looks like the team is just resting up Javonte with his knee injury, and Gordon, who returned and played with his thumb injury this previous week. Cincy is pretty good versus the run, 4th best in rushing yards, but middle of the road versus fantasy backs. Many opposing backs have done some damage through the air, so I like Javonte more here with 3.75 stars and 3 stars for Melvin Gordon. It was fun while it lasted. That's all I have to say there for Javonte Williams. Teddy in the passing game really shouldn't be started in the playoffs. I'm not going there. I mean, if you're really desperate at tight end, maybe you could take a look at Fant. He had a week last week.
Somewhere in the meh range of tight ends, he's better than Jack Doyle. Like, I'd rather start on a weekly basis. I'd rather start Noah Fant than Jack Doyle. Just
like
because,
any of them 11 through 15. Exactly. It's like, I don't know.
Any of them behind the top like 9, it's just like the rest of them are just kind of like, whatever, just throw a dart and maybe you hit a touchdown.
That's fair. But officially, I am benching Teddy and all the passing options. It's just the 2 running backs I'm going with there for the Broncos, and that's the Bengals and Broncos, sir.
All right, Chris, we're on to our next matchup, and that is the New York Jets. Or I'm sorry, I meant the I don't cares at the Miami Dolphins. Michael Carter and Tevin Coleman are both running backs for the New York Jets, if you didn't know that. But they are both expected to practice and play. Yes, I know the latter is expected to be activated off the IR this week. That'd be Tevin Coleman. With both potentially playing, I don't want to touch either one of them. On to the Dolphins and Tua. The Jets defense is not good, Chris. It really isn't. In the previous meeting of these two AFC juggernauts, Tua threw for 273 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The Jets are giving up the 5th most points to quarterbacks. 4 stars for Tua. Chris,
nice.
My friend Ronnie Raymond would like to know, should he start Tua or Carson Wentz?
Is this a super flex? May I ask your friend this question?
I believe he is playing in a super flex league.
This is Tua versus Wentz.
Tua against the Jets, Wentz against the Patriots.
I give Wentz. What did I give Wentz? Ooh, I benched him. I think it's Tua. You're steadfast.
That's why I say Tua. And who is Ronnie Raymond?
Ronnie Raymond is the Thing. No, I know that's not true. That's Hank something.
That's also Ben Grimm, you jackass.
Why did I get Hank? I get Hank for Beast from X-Men and Hank Grimm confused. And then there's Hank. What's the Ant-Man guy? What's the Prim?
That's Hank Pym.
It's Hank. Hank Prim and Hank Grimm. Come on,
Pym.
Guys. Oh, Pym. Sorry, no R. You're right.
Ronnie Raymond is one half of Firestorm. Yes, it's 2 guys that combine together with the Firestorm Matrix and make Firestorm.
Not the female Firestorm from the Spider-Man and Friends, though.
No, this is in DC. Anyways, on to the Dolphins running back. They all have COVID. They have a couple of guys that they're looking to. No, seriously, it's a thing. There's potential that they could play. Malcolm Brown, I believe, is still on the IR, so not him. But Salvan Ahmed and Myles Gaskin could play on Sunday, but they have some contingency plans with some guys activating some guys off the practice squad. They signed a guy off the street. I don't remember his name. It doesn't really matter. I know Jared Dokes is one of the guys they were talking about, which was their rookie 7th round pick. They were talking about activating off the practice squad. It doesn't really matter. I don't really care. I mean, if you're really looking for, you really need a running back, I would say tune back in on Sunday to this. I don't want to make a cheat out of this and be like, oh, hey, tune in to Sunday. We won't give you all the information in the podcast. But until then, I can't really recommend any of these names unless you
have absolutely
unless we know for sure.
I mean, Gaskin has been good lately. He's the obvious start if he's.
It's true. He really has been.
Yeah. So there's that. But as your point
For anyone
is,
listening to this before then, it would be either Duke Johnson or Jared Dokes, and that's
man,
Jared with a Gerrid. And they're talking about bringing in another guy from the practice squad as well, whose name I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's a guy off the practice squad. So do you really care that much? Probably not. Jalen Waddle, 4 stars for Mr. Waddle. He has become a target monster.
pretty sure he's out.
Jalen Waddle?
Yeah. I'm
What
sorry
you
if I
talking about,
interrupt the
Willis?
recording here. Let me. Oh, okay. I'm gonna get too much stuff from this game that's going on right now. I'm
Oh, he
sorry. We can
is.
edit
He
this
is.
out. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying
Let
to
me
get to it.
Okay, so meanwhile, back at the Hall of Doom. So on to Devonta Parker. It's a good matchup. It's a
I'm
good
sorry.
matchup for Devonta Parker here this weekend. You can maybe find him on your
Yeah.
free agent list. By no means were we ever talking about Jalen Waddle before this whatsoever. On to Mike Gesicki with Jalen Waddle being out and him being out, notably, like as I was writing my notes on this, at first I
Sorry.
was like,
Having too
Jalen
much
Waddle,
fun.
Mike Gesicki, 3 stars. But then I found out that Jalen Waddle was out as I was writing my notes and not just now. I am going to might bump up Mike Gesicki to a 3 3/4 to a 4-star. Gesicki's pretty good. The only problem with Gesicki is that he hasn't scored more than 8 points in 6 weeks. But with Jalen Waddle out, which I definitely knew before we started recording this, that I think that he has a good chance of scoring this week. I mean, it's the Jets for Pete's sake. Chris, what's
You
your next
figured.
matchup? Definitely knew. I knew that Jalen Waddle was out. I just wanted to say that.
To be fair, this
I
COVID
don't know
thing
what's
is
so funny.
nuts.
It's a very serious injury that Jalen Waddle may or may not have.
That's a good point. Okay, so on to we've done that matchup, haven't we? No. God bless it. I'm lost. Here it is. No. I went up.
The Seattle Seahawks at the
No,
Los Angeles Rams.
I must have gone up for some reason. On to the Seahawks at Rams. Russell Wilson has been okay lately, averaging 2 touchdown tosses and 19.14 fantasy points per game over the last 3 weeks. Given that Seattle gives up the most passing yards in the league, the Rams will probably throw a bit more in this one with no Henderson. More on that later. So I think there will be some higher pass volume for Russell here. Some comeback time, some garbage time, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to give him a low-end QB1 for me. 4 stars for Russell Wilson. So that puts him in a lot of lineups there in the playoffs. So that's not
You really
bold.
think that's
wise? I think we've talked about a couple quarterbacks
against the
already.
Rams?
I think we've talked about a couple quarterbacks already that are on the kind of that cusp. And I think if I'm going to bet on one, I know he hasn't been phenomenal, but yeah, 4 stars. Going with it. On to the running backs. Alex Collins has been put on the COVID list, but he is vaccinated. Still, he could miss, and he is really not startable anyway.
No.
Rashad, right?
Even though
Rashad
people were spending up. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was Rashad Penny that was the guy that people were spending big money, big
Rashad
fat
Penny,
money for.
Yeah, Rashad
And
Penny rushed
I'm
for
not really sure
137
why.
yards.
Not in this week.
I'm giving him a decent rating. Let me get to that. Penny rushed for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns last week versus the Texans. Carroll said they'll continue to rotate backs, but Penny deserves to start. Now the Rams are 7th best in rushing yards surrendered, but got tore up pretty darn good by A.J. Dillon and James Conner. 2 kind of bangers with similar athleticism, if you ask me, in terms of Rashad Penny. I think Penny is the play whether Collins sits or not. So I'm going to bench Collins outright and give a flex-worthy 3 stars for Penny. So nothing too aggressive there, but I think it's a start to keep an eye on there. I think I've liked the player, and yes, he disappointed a handful of weeks ago when he got an opportunity. You know, whether it was Carson or Collins who was out, and it wasn't great. I get it, but he played decent last week. We'll see. So
I would say
for
look
Rashad
for
Penny.
other options if you can.
Yeah, well, apparently I disagree with 3 stars, so that's decent. That's
Asking for a friend.
Good one.
Chuba Hubbard or your boy Rashad Penny there.
Did I bench Hubbard? Hubbard, I gave
I don't remember.
him. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I gave 2 stars. to both DJ Moore and Hubbard. So that would say Rashad Penny. Yep. And I feel that off the top of my head too. I just wanted to pull back there and double check. So there you have it.
Deonta Foreman or Rashad Penny?
Rashad Penny.
Javonte Williams or Rashad Penny?
Javonte Williams, easily.
Okay.
Although
one more quick
close.
one. To cheat and skip ahead in your matchup, Sony Michel or Javonte or Rashad Penny. Yeah, I cheated there. I know I did.
No, it's fine. No, good. I like it because it's pertinent. It's very pertinent.
It's also a
Sony.
segue into
Sony. Exactly. Sony. I'm going Sony.
I skipped. We were skipping over Lockett and DK, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got some more here, but no, I'll give it to Sony in that question, sir.
Interesting. Okay, keep going.
Yep. Again, that's 3 stars for Penny. On to the receivers for the Seahawks, DK and Tyler Lockett. DK has been nursing a foot injury all season, but has played through it. But now a back injury has popped up. I still expect him to suit up, but maybe this is why we have seen Lockett take over as the preferred option the last few weeks, with DK averaging 3 points. With DK averaging 3.68 points over the last 4 weeks, I think some injuries are piling up there. Coming off a fresh 142-yard game, Lockett will most likely miss the game on the COVID list. There's been a huge outbreak across the league, as it seems anyway. Maybe DK can get off the schneid. He caught 5 passes for 98 yards and 2 scores the last time these two teams met, so I'm going to give 4 stars for DK and just basically a bench for Lockett because I really don't think he's going to have enough time to turn around and play off the COVID list. So it's a little aggressive on DK there, but hey, I think these guys are going to have to pass to compete against these Rams. On to the Rams. Stafford threw only 1 score the last time these two teams played, but has thrown 3 touchdowns the last 3 weeks in a row, and Seattle will be able to do little to slow this passing attack. I'm giving 5 stars to the MVP candidate, Matthew Stafford. What's that?
I said you got it. And I think the last time that these two teams played each other is that Stafford was dealing with a bit of a back injury then too. Okay. I don't quote me on that, but I think that's part of what was going on there.
I didn't have
keep going, man. I just wanted to interject with that.
Yeah. I'm not going to give. Let me put it this way: I'm not going to give the Seattle defense the benefit of the doubt in this particular equation.
Not at all.
The 5 stars. On to the running backs, as mentioned earlier, Darrell Henderson is most likely to miss the game due to COVID protocols. That puts Sony in the driver's seat. Sony has averaged 22 carries, 100 rushing yards, and a half a touchdown in the last 2 weeks. I know that's a small sample size, but we often, or at least I do, sing the praises of, hey, I'm not saying you can plug any guy in, but you take a talented guy that just couldn't get it together health-wise in New England, and hey, look what he's doing on a pretty darn good team in the LA Rams. The Seahawks are a smash play for running backs, and this week is no different. 4 stars for Sony Michel.
Ooh.
Yeah, a little aggressive there. On to the pass catchers. More COVID outbreaks here. Odell Beckham Jr. has COVID and will most likely miss the game. Somehow, Kupp has avoided all of them and remains healthy. And
maybe he's a masker.
Maybe he's a masker. Maybe he just stays at home and plays PlayStation. I don't know, man. But he remains healthy and very, very, very good at what he does. I'm going to give 5 stars to Kupp versus the porous Seattle defense. And Van Jefferson becomes a fine flex option in Odell Beckham's absence. I'm going to give 3 stars to Van Jefferson. I think I could even. I'm not going to play to your liking my take. I could even convince myself during the research to go higher than 3 stars, but I'm going to stick to my guns there. And that is the end
I
of that.
think that's very apt.
Yeah. I think, and hey, 4 stars for Sony too, so maybe I expect some play there for the running back, some scoring opportunities, and there's only so much to go around. Yeah, so I like it.
All right, Chris, strap yourself in. I got a little bit of a lengthy one here, so just buckle yourself in. Grab your drink, just kick back, relax, and let Captain Kirk do the driving of the Enterprise.
Love the reference.
Start with the Atlanta Falcons at the San Francisco 49ers doing a coast-to-coast sort of action here, even though Atlanta's a landlocked on the coast. On the Cordero Patterson. Chris, did you know that the Falcons are a 6-win team?
That's actually impressive.
For as bad as this team is, 6 wins. Now, I do have to say, every team they've beaten has a losing record, but a win's a win, and they're worse than the 6 losers that they beat. Patterson here, he's a bit of a roller coaster over the past 6 weeks. 4.4 points in one game. Missed a game, 26.5 points, 11.1, and 12.9 points. This is all half PPR, of course. The 49ers are giving up the 18.6 points per game to running backs. I like Patterson this week, considering that he doesn't have a lot of real competition. So I like him to get a lot of that 18.6 points. So I'm going to give him 3.5 stars. Russell Gage, if you need a wide receiver, you could do worse. The past couple of weeks, DK Metcalf, Lockett, Jamar Chase, Tiggins all had at least 60 yards, while DK was the only wide receiver who didn't score a touchdown against the 49ers. Weirdly, but whatever. Gage is not on the level of those 4 per se, but I still like his chances. And you know what? I originally gave him 3 stars. So I'm going to bump it up to a 3 3/4 stars. Frog in my throat. Anyways, on to Kyle Pitts. He gets I guess 3 stars. Once again, his yardage and receptions are okay. That 1 touchdown on the season is kind of garbage. And this is the only positive, and I say this with all honesty, no jest whatsoever, is that Pitts has been healthy all season. Like I said, I don't mean that as a negative thing. What I do mean is that by being healthy, he's getting real NFL reps, and should be a good sign for next year. It's that he's just learning how the game is played in the NFL. Rookie tight ends, historically, even some of the greatest ones don't do a lot in their first NFL season. Let's move on to the 49ers here. Jimmy G, normally I wouldn't be into Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm going to give him 3.5 stars here, and honestly, it's probably more like 4 stars. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say 4 stars. If you're streaming quarterbacks, which I usually am into streaming quarterbacks, but I've been really nailing my quarterbacks in the draft or early on in free agency in the past couple of seasons.
Okay,
yeah. So, but if you are streaming quarterbacks, Jimmy G is a guy that's potentially out there for your team, and you could do a lot worse than Garoppolo here in a great matchup. The Falcons are giving up the second most points to quarterbacks. He's also coming off an 18-point game 2 weeks ago and a 20-point performance last week. And I think I'm going to start him in Dynasty this week too. Oh, sorry. I don't have to start him in Dynasty this week. I'm in first and I have a first round bye. But if I did, I would. Moving on to Elijah Mitchell. Come on, buddy, man. Chris needs you. He needs you this week. Well,
you want an update on Allaire? Where is he? Okay, fine.
Not really. Anyways, it sounds like he's truly questionable. That would be Elijah Mitchell, not CEH. I'm not sure which ailment is holding him back. Chris thinks it's a concussion. I think it's the knee. We'll find out more here in a couple of days. But he was seen working off to the side on Wednesday. So tune in to that Sunday morning stream. Have some coffee with Chris and I. Maybe you want to make that coffee a little Irish, or as Josh likes to do, make it a little Jamaican. That'd be with rum and not whiskey. Sorry, the only whiskey I have is like an expensive bottle. I'm not dumping that into coffee. So I make it Jamaican.
Irish.
So I'm not. If Elijah Mitchell can't go this week, I'm not into any other Niners back. The 2 chances that Jeff Wilson has had this year to be like the guy, he really hasn't been the guy. So, and I know I'm doing air quotes a lot, but that's kind of. Anyways, Deebo Samuel, Atlanta. Listen to this. Atlanta is giving up the 9th most points to running backs and the 6th most points to wide receivers. I believe that means that they're giving up the 7.5-ish points to Deebo because he's doing both. Last week in the meaningful carries, that was Deebo Samuel. He's also getting catches too.
Honestly, I heard Tebow for a second. I was like, did I miss a memo?
No, Deebo Samuel, man.
I know Deebo. Yes, he is the man.
So I'm going to give him 4.25 stars if Eli doesn't play. That'd be Eli Mitchell. And 4 stars if Mitchell does play. On to Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk has what?
Just because a couple carries, couple of end arounds, couple of gadget plays where he gets the ball in his hand, and he's been phenomenal when he does. So yeah, about a quarter star.
They're just trying to get the ball in Deebo's hands as much as possible.
Quarter star sounds fair to me. Yep, go ahead.
Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk has double-digit points in 4 out of his last 6 games, with a touchdown in 3 out of those 4 games. He's been extremely hyperbolic this season, but you could do worse against Atlanta, who's bad. As I already mentioned, they've given up the 6th most points to wide receivers. I say start Ayuk, but don't expect an 18-plus point game from him. He's more of a flex than, you look at your lineup and consider him as a wide receiver 1 or 2. So I'm going to give him 3.25 stars here. I really like him. Let's move on to George Kittle. Kittle smash! 5-star Kittle. Wow. He white hot. You start Kittle. Sit Kittle. Do you think so in the same game on the other side of the field, do you think Kyle Pitts is sitting there taking notes like, okay, yep, jump there, okay, jump and catch, okay, cool. Spin move, okay, this is what I do.
Honestly, I think he's
run
looking at
through
his
defender, not dodge. Run through defender. Okay, I got it. Boom.
Honestly,
he's just sitting there, just taking notes from one of the best in the game at the moment.
I think he's looking at Kittle's footwork. I think he's looking how he blocks, because Kittle makes an impact on the game in all aspects. And I know we don't care about that. We don't really touch on it much here in Amazing Fantasy Football Analysis, but
it would help him for next year.
It's true. Not just the footwork and blocking, but also route running and separation. And I had my doubts in the beginning of this.
Getting yourself open by footwork. That's Devontae Adams' calling card is footwork. That's how he gets separation. He's not the fastest guy in there. He's got the best footwork out of probably any in the NFL.
It's amazing.
As far as pass catchers, it's
amazing how much of a difference it makes. So again, footwork, both in run blocking and pass catching and in routes. I think Pitts is going to be just fine, big picture. But yeah, I think he's looking at what Kittle's done. I can't speak for both of us, but I had my doubts in this offseason about Kittle's health and big picture in a dynasty aspect. And I thought about moving him, come full circle to a redraft league. I think I dropped him earlier in the year and must have spaced it and not picked him up. And he's right back where he was, man.
Who? Oh, you're talking about Kittle. I thought
Kittle,
you said Pitts.
Kittle. No, Pitts. Yeah, Kittle. I dropped Kittle.
I sworn you said Pitts.
Yeah. I meant to say Kittle.
Whatever. Chris, one each. One matchup
one each left.
Let's do it. Let's bring it home.
The New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
A penultimate matchup.
Yeah, so to speak.
Week 15 at Amazing Fantasy Football. Go.
Depends on what you think about the Saints, I suppose. But Taysom Hill has been good the last 2 weeks. And this Bucs defense just got gouged by Josh Allen on the ground. Taysom is a low-end QB1 for me this week, 4 stars. I don't like it, folks, but it is what it is. I think he can run on the Bucs a bit. On to Alvin Kamara. Both these teams are elite run defenses. Tampa is 3rd best in rushing yards and gives up the 7th fewest points to running backs. Kamara returned from a multi-week absence to rush for 120 yards and 1 touchdown versus the lowly Jets last week. The Bucs ain't the Jets, in case you're keeping score at home. Still, Kamara scored versus the Bucs back in Week 8, so I think he can have some success in versus his division rival. So I'm going to give 4 stars to Kamara here. That's all I've got for the Saints.
I would say that's probably his ceiling too.
No, that's fair, but I also don't think it's like a 2.5 star thing either. I think he's going to have a nice day. It's just
3 and 4, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still an RB.
I'm not saying that you should give him a 3.5. I'm just saying that he'll probably end up somewhere between a 3 and 4 star play this week.
Yeah.
4 being his 4 being his ceiling and 3 being his floor. That's not bad.
There you go.
Against a really good defense, yeah. Okay.
It is a good defense, but he's familiar with them too. On to the Buccaneers. Exactly. That's fair. Brady is on fire lately, scoring twice through the air and once on the ground last week.
Should he not stop, drop, and roll then?
Well, perhaps, except no, I think he wants to continue to be on fire so he can win another ring.
Actually, I want him to continue to be on fire and burn up and never exist ever again. I'm sorry, that's mean. I don't mean
He's not
that.
a phoenix, sir. He is the quarterback 2 on the year.
I just want to sell for myself. I don't want to share anymore.
He is the quarterback 2 on the year and is the front runner for MVP as far as I'm concerned.
Probably,
he also threw 4 touchdowns when he met the Saints last time earlier in the year. 5 stars for Tom Brady. On to the running back.
How about Marshawn Lattimore, though?
Yeah, that's
just
fine.
saying.
I'm keeping my 5 stars.
I
Fournette
don't.
could be bottled up versus a stout Saints run defense, and he hasn't practiced all week with an ankle injury. And to
Thank
add
you.
insult to injury, this is a Sunday night game. I would look elsewhere because even if Fournette goes, the Saints are giving up the
Are you going
second
to trust
fewest fantasy
Rojo
points.
instead?
Yeah, exactly. The
Exactly.
Saints are giving up the second fewest fantasy points to backs and the 6th fewest rushing yards on the season. With Giovanni Bernard on IR, I'm going to bench Fournette. I'm going to bench Rojo. I'm going to bench Jamal. I'm done. Well, I mean, if Fournette goes, I mean, he's probably might get a
Chris,
couple
are you
targets.
saying it's the best week possible to have a bye week in Dynasty where I am actually number 1 in the league after being a 2-win team last year?
As a Leonard Fournette manager?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and a James Conner. Well, actually, no. You might want to be playing James Conner.
And James
this week.
Conner and Debo.
Yeah, you might be SOL next week with Chase being. But if Chase is
I have Chase as well.
Oh, that's right. You're playing both, then, buddy. Have fun with that. In a playoff matchup, you're going to play both running backs. Okay.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
you. I'm not you
Exactly.
having Ronnie Brown and
Oh my God, that's like
Ricky Williams.
That's like a decade ago, dude. Jeez.
Yeah, that's so rub it in your face.
Anyway, on to the pass catchers. Fresh reminder: I'm benching the running options for the Buccaneers for all intents and purposes because I don't think Fournette's going to play. Anyway, on to the pass catchers. Godwin has seen his target share grow in the absence of Antonio Brown. Both Godwin and Evans are top 10 wide receivers. Again. The Saints are middle of the road in terms of passing yards, but do give up the 3rd most points to wide receivers. 4.5 stars for Godwin and 4 stars for Evans. Moving on to the tight end, Gronkowski. Gronk had a quiet game last week, but still commanded 9 targets. He's Robert Gronkowski.
True.
Tight ends suck. I'm giving Gronk 4.5 stars in what should be a heated matchup between a division rival. Yeah. And that's the Saints at Bucks, sir.
Okay. Our last matchup is the Green Bay Packers at the Baltimore Ravens. Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to give him 5 stars. The Baltimore secondary is decimated. Rodgers has scored 26 or more points in the last 3 games. Coincidentally, I think that's when he also picked up his COVID or his toe injury. So weirdly that, my toe hurts, but it's all NFL narrative and it's all crap. 5 stars for Aaron Rodgers. That is not crap. That is the real deal. Devonta Adams, he also gets 5 stars because Baltimore secondary comment. That would be their corners and their safety if you're not versed in that. On to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Chris, I won the spelling bee. I spelled his name out just to see if I could do it, and I did it exactly right. So I win.
The first try?
First try.
Wow.
I like MVS this week. If he and Rodgers can connect on a deep pass or two, touchdown. I'll give him 3.5 stars. A fine flex play this week. If you're down big after a big Thursday night game this week, we didn't cover that already, the Chiefs and the Chargers are playing. So if you're down big, MVS, he's a good chance for a home run. If you find yourself up big on a Thursday night game, Brandon Ayuk, a nice safety play, I think, this week. So, I'm not I don't know. There's 2 schools of thought. If you're up big, why not swing for the fences and try and get up even bigger? Or you can play it safe with a safe player. I think Ayuk's pretty safe this week, and MVS is more of the gamble, sky's the limit, but also the floor is nothing. There is no floor.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to Aaron Jones, and actually the Packers running backs. There's a lot of uncertainty about Aaron Jones last week due to his health, but he ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. He did that on only 8 touches, though.
Wow.
Very efficient, but that was against the Bears defense. The Ravens have a better run defense than the Bears, so it's going to need a lot more work to be a lot more fantasy relevant this week. So I'm going to give him 3.5 stars. Let's move on to AJ Dillon here, who actually deserves worth mentioning. Aaron Jones was questionable too this week, probably due to the same injury that's been nagging him, but he played last week, so I have no fear that he's going to play this week. So let's move. Like I said, let's circle back around to AJ Dillon once again. Dude, Dillon has been playing well with Aaron, by spelling Aaron Jones and also filling in for him. And Aaron Jones is mandated 1 injury per season. Watching Dylan, dude, I gotta say, man, I'm pretty impressed. And I think I've said this in weeks past too, but I'm pretty impressed from what I've seen out of AJ Dillon this year compared to last year. Like, yeah, there was that one game. What was it in week 15 last year where Dillon smashed whoever they were playing?
Like he got an opportunity because of injury or whatnot, and
because Aaron Jones missed the game.
But other than that, it was far and few between. Yeah, for sure.
And even then, when he did play, it was just like, oh, run into the wall, whatever. Like, I know the guy's he's more of a thumper, but he can also catch the ball. He has shown that this season. He's not the natural pass catcher that Aaron Jones is, but he can catch when asked to do so. He's kind of he's more of a thumper than Jonathan Taylor is. Let's put it that way. Bigger, more of a power back than Taylor is,
for sure.
But think of them as similar kind of guys. So I'm going to give AJ Dillon 3 stars here. I'm assuming that his workload is not going to go away because he's like, I think of him as kind of a Jamal Williams, only a different style of player. Let's put it that way. Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones were kind of one and the same, whereas AJ Dillon is big power dude. I mean, they call him Quadzilla or the Quadfather because he is enormous.
Got huge legs. Huge.
Yeah, dude. And anyways, let's move on to the Ravens side of the ball here. Lamar Jackson, he's questionable with an ankle. Offense coordinator Greg Roman said, I think that I could go down to the wire when speaking of Lamar's injury. Like I said, this is an ankle. He missed 2 straight practices so far this week and is still considered day-to-day. Man, is this not the Sunday night game? Do you have the Sunday night game?
No, I think I had the Sunday night game with the.
Look that up real quick. Devonta Freeman. While Freeman has had some flashes of competency, I'm not in love with him here. The Packers are giving him the 11th fewest points to running backs, and if Lamar doesn't play, then in this one, then the defense won't have to worry about playing on its heels with the quarterback running and everything with. Brent Huntley or Ryan Huntley. It's something like, I can't remember the quarterback's name, and I'm not going to look it up. I didn't bother to because I don't care. Marquis Brown, he has devolved from Hollywood down to Marquis Brown again. He missed the last couple of practices. It's hard to say if he does have an illness. So it's hard to say if he'll be ready as recording this, but illness is better than, hamstring or ankle.
Illness is better than a hamstring or a knee injury or a COVID. For sakes, it seems
as Lamar's level of play has cooled down, so has Brown. Even if he does play, I don't like it that much, so I'm going to give him 2.5 stars. I mean, he's going to have to go up against probably Jair Alexander in this one, assuming Alexander does play. He's been playing, so he'll probably play again this week. Chris, I got to give you some big props for last week on Mark Andrews. You said that he was one of the guys that could usurp Travis Kelce as far as like tight end 1 on the week or whatever.
For the week, sure.
Yeah, yep. And Andrews went ultra instinct last week, man. He caught all 11 of his targets for 115 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. He's also been quarterback proof too. So when Huntley or whatever his name is comes into play, it doesn't really affect Andrews all that much. So, regardless of who starts for the Ravens this week, I have confidence in Andrews. I'm going to give him 4.5 stars, only because backup quarterback usually kind of bump him down a little bit. Chris, do you get the Ultra Instinct reference?
I did from Manimal? Manimal? I don't know. Mandrews? Ultra Instinct?
Nope.
No, apparently not.
Nope, that's a Dragon Ball Z/GT reference. Like their most newest film where there was some big tournament, like Goku evolved to this. He powered up past like Super Saiyan to Ultra Instinct, and his hair turned like a glowing blue, and just went bonkers.
Still more powering up, isn't there? Just more and more powering up. I'm still freaking out. Yep. That's the show, folks. I mean, hey, I was a fan at one point, but hey, it's not that great. But anyway,
apparently they
no, I went much older school.
Like,
I went
Manimal.
I went Manimal. You don't remember Manimal, do you?
No.
It was a show back when shows were a thing, and it was like a guy who what did he do? He had like the instincts of an animal, or did he change an animal? I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look it up after the show. Point is, the guy's name is Mandrews, and I thought that's where you were going. But
nope.
Yeah. DBZ.
Ultra Instinct, Dragon Ball.
There you go.
it's like a white blue that hair, like his hair turns. Like, why does his hair turn? Anyways, yeah. And he saves the universe and blah blah
count as
blah.
anime? Does DBZ count as anime? It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's totally anime.
It
is 100% through and through anime.
I think it's some of the worst anime I've ever seen. It's not that good.
It's exactly anime.
I know it's anime. I'm just saying it's not good anime.
I don't know if a lot of anime is all that good.
I don't know anime that well, so I'm sure there's people out there that are wanting to kill me.
There's got to be better, but like it's a very typical like superhero. I'm doing this a lot.
Actually,
what is going on with this?
Yeah, you should tie your hands by your waist.
You probably should.
They're aliens, not superheroes. Last time I checked, sir.
But like Goku is supposed to be like the
Superman's
Japanese
an alien,
Superman.
and he's a superhero, so that counts. I'm just saying they're aliens.
That's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the Japanese Superman, more or less. Is that
Goku
nothing is going to beat him because he is the ultimate hero?
Yeah. Still powering
up.
What
he is. Seriously, that's what he is.
I know. It gets old quick.
Yeah, so does Superman.
Exactly. That's why Spider-Man is the best. Rewatched Into the Spider-Verse the other day. Still maybe the best Spider-Man film ever, albeit animated.
I haven't seen Spider-Man 2 in a while, so.
Oh, that's a good point. Hey, you're preaching to the choir there, sir.
And you know, honestly, I don't know, man. That
cry every time
that Venom in Spider-Man 3 is pretty good. I liked it. With Sandman and Green Goblin too. Oh yeah, that's a good flick right there, man.
I'm pretty sure he's being sarcastic, folks.
It's a great one. Like you get to see Dark Peter Parker. He does a little dance in the cafe to make Mary Jane jealous.
He's such a troll. He's been
what are you talking about? That's a great movie. I love that movie.
Bully Maguire. It's like this ongoing.
He's got his hair kind of swooped over, like all like.
Well, we know it. We know all about it, sir. We know all about it.
There's like a hair flick too in it. Oh man, everything that I want in a movie.
It's probably the worst Spider-Man movie ever.
All right, whatever.
I love the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, which is why, ironically,
have you seen the Andrew Garfield ones?
I like the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what? Are you saying they're better?
No, Spider-Man 3 is better than. It's the best one outside of.
No. Spider-Man 2
is pretty Spider-Man good.
It is really good. It's so good, man. Every time I watch it, I just have such enjoyment. It's that good, folks. Just watch it. And there's a new one coming out in case you haven't heard. I'm a big Spider-Gwen fan. Yeah, there's a new one coming out. Not just the Spider-Man Marvel MCU.
Not the Tom Holland Spider-Man, but the...
Yeah, that's brand new, like just a day or two ago. But I'm talking about, there's like, it might be January, but there's a new Into the Spider-Verse coming out, and it looks great. Miles looks a little more mature, and I'm excited. He looks awesome, dude.
I really don't like Miles Morales, but that's okay.
What? I love him Into the Spider-Verse. That's you're the
comic guy. No, he's good in that, but just the whole concept. He is not my Spider-Man at all. I am
preaching the choir.
Am hard into Team Peter Parker. Like,
yep, me too.
Dude, I like this whole Miles Morales thing, and I haven't read the comics, so maybe I need to just kind of slow my roll a little bit. Okay. But I am so hard into Peter Parker. Like, I have read probably at least, so we're getting close to like 900 issues of Amazing Spider-Man now.
Yeah,
I think we're in like 850-ish range.
And you've read a lot of them.
I bet I've read at least half of them. And so Peter Parker is definitely my Spider-Man.
Hey, me too. Man.
Like I've read like at least the first 50 issues, if not the first 100. So like I am hard from like very beginning to like through and then periodically throughout. It has
absolutely nothing to do with the name of the show.
Yeah, right.
We are both huge Peter Parker fans. We are both huge Spider-Man fans. Josh is clearly
who my favorite Spider-Man is? You know who my favorite Spider-Man is actually? Ben Reilly. Ben Reilly is my favorite Spider-Man.
Oh, you're talking about some crazy like multiverse, like
Bone Saga BS, yeah.
You're like right over my head.
A troll, and it's a bad troll at that. I can't even keep a straight face with it.
Okay.
Chris, let's wrap it up, man. There's enough Spider-Man talk. Let's wrap up this show. Chris, I believe we've been amazing fantasy football. You have been the Spock to my Captain Kirk in this one. Thank you very much. both of them captains of the Enterprise briefly at one point. Simultaneously, actually. Yeah, not that I've unearned and know that at all.
You're nerding out so
just like
hard right now.
just like I totally knew that Jalen Waddle was out this week. We are Amazing Fantasy Football. Please tune in to our Sunday morning stream. It's usually a lot of fun. Just some general jocularity, coffee with the both of us. I actually haven't missed a week in a while, but I'm not planning on missing this week either.
You've been good. You've been good. I had to take some time.
You were out of town, so whatever.
Exactly.
But there you can get some last minute lineup questions in for the two of us. Get some. I mean, if anything, we're just validating the decision you've already made, or maybe you just want some legit opinion. You know, you can also hear the last minute injury news. Like we sit there and refresh websites and all that up until we decide to stop streaming. You can check that out on YouTube, probably where you're watching this video. If you are watching this video, you can always check it out in podcast format, and you can do that pretty much wherever you get a podcast. If you are doing it in a place where you can rate and review podcasts, please do so, and give us you give us a negative rating, leave us some constructive criticism. If you are giving us a positive rating, we thank you and we love you for it. Until next time, which would be the Sunday morning stream, which we will also post something about next week because it's Christmassy-ish season. Usually we record on Thursdays, which happens to be Festivus next week. So
are we gonna have an interruption of service?
We'll talk about that here briefly. Probably not. I'm saying no.
We'll talk about it Sunday morning.
I mean, we're in the playoffs, man. Next week is like finals for some leagues. So
let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'll be
Until
around
next time,
town.
everyone.
Let's put it that way.
Adios.